Simple and Out has a number of amazing reports you can run to get to the bottom of the information that we collect for you to see what's going on within your organization. Today's video, we're going to focus on the daily timeline report. And this is a great report for two reasons. One is you can visualize how Simple and Out counts total time. And the second reason is that it lays a lot of people's information side by side over a given single day, which is what makes the daily timeline report an excellent report if you're looking for something like coverage. Maybe you have a situation where you have to have somebody manning the phone at all hours, or somebody always has to be in the office at a certain time of the day, either the morning or the evenings. Daily timeline report has you covered for that. So let's take a look at the options first. The first decision we'll have to make is what day would we like to run this daily report for? In this case, it'll always default you to the day previous. In this case, that's a Sunday. That's a poor example. Let's go ahead and run the report for last Friday. And then you can choose who to run this report for. By default, this will run for everybody in your organization. But of course, we can filter this down into a smaller subset of our users using things like groups or individual users. So for example, I could type mortgage consultants here and pick our mortgage consultant group. Or for example, I could use individual users as well. And as I can see, this will run now for 15 people. So let's go ahead and run this report and take a look at what it looks like. So as you can see right here, this is a visual report. You can see when users are available and when they are not visually throughout the course of a given 24-hour day. So here, Anthony Morris, for example, was in here and then went on break and then is doing some extra work and then was left here as well. You can see Daniel Rogers, for example, here must have taken the afternoon off, was unavailable here, and Ethan must have been out the whole day because we don't see any time for those users. So this is really quite swell. Now, if I have sufficient privileges to be able to edit the past, in which I do, I could click on any of these individually to see what happened. So for example, here I can see the user was in at 7:58 and out for the day. And if for some reason, let's say in this case, Daniel Rogers may have been working in the afternoon, just forgot to check back in, we could go ahead and add a new in status right here if we wished. So that's pretty swell. Now, we do have some advanced options in our timeline report, so let's take a look at those as well. I click the little advanced options box here to fold them down, and that gives me 3 additional things I can choose for. The first is totaling these statuses. By default, the timeline report will consider any time a user is in an in status, a remote status, or a busy status as being available. But if I wish I could change this anytime I want. I could either add break status, or in this case, maybe I don't care about remote status. I just want to see the time people were actually physically in our office. So I can do this and this, and then run the report again, and you'll see that that changes. For example, it must have been that Ava Hill, I assume, was in a remote status in the afternoon, probably working from home. Now, another thing I can do, only these comments are considered. This will leave the charts itself will remain the same, but you can change the way the total time number looks based on only counting a certain comment as time allotted. So for example, I do know that we saw Anthony Morris a second earlier was working on TPS reports. If I type TPS and rerun the report, you notice that the bar charts do not change. But over here, you'll notice that this does change, that all these users are 0, but Anthony Morris 3 hours and 46 minutes in a status where a comment was TPS. And if I click on Anthony, we'll see that's because TPS reports is what he was working on in the afternoon. So I can more zero in my target that way. And then finally, we have time zone. By default, this will always run in the time zone you are currently in. But of course, you can run this in any time zone you wish, which is great if you are traveling in a different time zone, but still need to see a report in the time zone you're used to seeing it. And so that is the daily timeline report. Great report for checking coverage.